Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm back up, and so that was completely an epic fail as far as turning off my Wi-Fi and hoping that I would be able to be on live and just using my cell data. But I guess I am I guess down that end of the greenhouse appears to be a dead area. So I suppose I'll never be able to go down there on a live, but I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do. I'll have to plan it better to maybe bring up stuff, maybe put a shelf here, maybe bring things down as they come into bloom to make it easier. But some things I won't move. For instance, my area down there. Well, can't even really see it because it's around the corner, around there, where my disaster happened. It's beyond, around, it's before that and beyond this dendrobium right there. So yeah, I won't move those, although I'm getting to the point of throwing them out just because this is something that I wish I knew more about. My sulcatum. It just seems to be producing growth upon growth upon growth. And I believe it's bloom size, but I haven't seen any flowers. I was thinking that maybe it needed to, maybe it was deciduous. Maybe it needed to lose its leaves in order for it to bloom. Not sure. Not sure. So yeah, my test down there was very bad. It's nice and warm in here though. Just gonna miss some things. If I can. Hopefully you can still hear me. Hopefully everyone is having a good weekend, and hopefully the weather is not too extreme. And I am trying to get the right setting on my mister. If I can. Hello everyone. I've still yet to figure out this whole chat thing. Oh, hi Gabrielle. Thanks for dropping by. Okay, I think maybe my mister is right here. I thought so. There we go, finally. Just trying to give these over here some, because my heater is really on, and these are all kind of mounted anyway, so this thing will do them some good. That's my Dendrobium nudum. I've had that for a few years. It's never bloomed for me. It's still acclimating, I think. Since it came from Andes, it was very big. My growths, I think there's a couple of growths from last year. They might have already lost their leaves. This is a deciduous one. Does like it a little bit cooler though, so it can handle being down there as long as I keep it watered, since it is bare root. And my antelopes over here that are bare mounted. My discolor, yeah, discolor. And this is my other Rhinanthus over here. This is my Aerides hulitiana, which is probably getting a little too much light as the leaves are browning. So I'm going to have to move this. That does look like it's too much light, whereas these down here seem to be okay. This is my Trichoglottis. That is just bare root on this piece of wood. And yeah, those might be some blooms. Well, they take a long time to progress, but that will probably keep progressing. Again, making sure that this tray, and I'm just watering at the roots, making sure that the foliage isn't getting too much on it, although I do have fans going on. So yeah, this fan is up here. This is one thing that I neglected to. Hey Ron, I started to mention this before I got distracted yesterday, but I was getting ready to throw this out. I would throw this out right after I show this, and I've had this for a few years and it just recently turned bad on me, and I don't know why. This is Succuculei, Path Succuculei crossed with St. Swithin, and I know it's crappy, but it didn't always look like this, and I've tried to save it, but you can just see how bad it is, and it obviously has no roots. And this is a repot. I just repotted it, yeah, March. But when you look down close to that, no, maybe that is a leaf. You know, I was beginning to say, because so many times these plants, in the last desperate effort to save itself, it will put up a bloom. And I almost thought that that was going to be a bloom right there. A lot of the times the blooms do have the striping as what the color on the inside of the bloom is going to look like, and it's Succuculei, so I would have expected it to have some of those green stripes going through it. But it is going today. In fact, I'm just going to get rid of it right now. So, but this was what I showed off today. And I noticed this flower is very, it's disformed. You can see how probably was my fault from bumping into it. This is the worst spot for it, and I will have to figure out where to put this in the future, because it's big and it's wide. So, but nonetheless, there's my epidendrum, the newest bloom. Pretty. Still expecting a fragrance at some point. It should. All of the 3 species has a fragrance to it. Yeah, I like it too, Ron. This is gonna really be nice as well. As soon as it opens up further. And in fact, Xi Ya Champion Red Apple. In fact, you can get these right now on sale, I think, at Norman's. I think they're probably less than 20 bucks. May even be, I don't know, it might even be in bloom or in bud, because these plants pretty much, they bloom a lot. And this plant, for it to be less than 20 at Norman's, and look at that deep color. Yeah, it's beautiful, and it hasn't even opened yet. So, yeah, beyond that, it's the same thing like yesterday. There's not a whole lot to show you. Not a whole lot. Now this right here, well, this is my farmer eye. I thought this was my stand 40 and yeah, it's my farmer eye. I probably don't have stand 40 and anymore. So, but these bulbophyllums over here that have been just taking their sweet time, honestly. But I think it's still working on it. That's my bulbophyllum Frank Smith. So yeah, and this is still going strong as ever. That is why I've always been obsessed about this plant. Always obsessed about it. What else? This thing should be blooming, but it had a little setback because, again, it was at in a colder section of my greenhouse. Because this is generally the time when this is putting out its spikes. This is my perennie, I believe, or it's flagellaris. And now I can't see the tag. I think it's flagellaris, but you can see how the cold damage. That's cold damage. And this is cold damage. And these growths that have the cold damage on them were growths that started right before I brought the plant inside. Even since then, it has still put up, this plant is still trying. It has put up more new growths. There's a new growth. There's new growths coming up right there. There's another new growth. I mean, this plant is really, really trying, because this is its time. It knows that this is its time that it should be blooming. So, get that. I think cattleyas like it warm at all times. If anything triggers their blooming, it's maybe a little bit of hardening off, meaning maybe slightly cooler, but not cold. I would say more importantly, they get less water. They dry out more in between. Like, instead of giving them water weekly, maybe even give it like every 10 days, even closer to 2 weeks. That's what I would say. Just to make their pseudobulbs a little bit more firm. That is just what I would say. For instance, this right here, which I just noticed yesterday, this is my Chisis that I just got last year from H&R. and it's a species, and it put up really nice growths for me this summer. And here's my other cases over here. You can see how the bulbs are fat, they're erect, they're standing up, the leaves are nice. You can see what that one's all drooping. And if I touch the pseudobulbs, you can you can just look at it and tell that it is mushy. So I am that, and this is because that one's sitting back there, way back there for a reason, because it's way out of the reach of the water and it's closer to the window. Whereas this one is closer in the action. So this gets water, that one doesn't, and that's what it likes. This one isn't. So I need to move this over here and just ignore it, and then we'll come back and check, and I will bet you that the pseudobulbs, they might still be drooping, but they'll be a little more firm because the pseudobulbs have had a chance to harden off. And if I continue to water those pseudobulbs would become mush and they'd rot. Now it might be actually past the time, so I'm kind of praying that they're gonna harden off, because I don't want to lose that plant. I really don't. Even though I can buy another one, I don't want to. But so you're partially right, Ron. It does need a little bit cooler, can't help. But they're automatically getting cooler just because it's not summer anymore. But I think more importantly, the less water with them, because a lot of my cattleyas in general, I put them way up there on that high shelf. They get sun, they get full sun, and they have fans around them, and they get the heat from that heater that's blowing over, but they don't get watered at all, and they're still growing. So, but it is probably cooler up there because it's closer to the glass, but it still gets heat because this fan is actually turned up. It's blowing up. It's not blowing down. So it's sort of spreading. It's blowing up towards the ceiling, if that makes sense. Well, if you're giving them cooler temperatures, things are gonna stall. I mean, I'm just trying harder to not just simply house them over the winter, which is more or less what I have been doing, which is what people do in the Midwest. You either bring your things inside from outside, and you'll never be able to replicate the outside. Temperatures, humidity, rainwater. So, well, you can do the rain, but to make a long story short, they are going to stall at some point because they're not growing. Number one, they're basically, most of them are resting. There are some that are growing, but the majority of them are resting. So, but I think there is an advantage if you can, like for instance, if you live in Florida or California and you can take advantage of, constant state of summer. So, if you live in Florida, no sweat, but this is still a pretty thing, and I got on my soapbox. But I hope that answered the question. I'm not an expert. I just know, just from my trial and error, like I said, I can tell you how to kill plants and what not to do. That's how it's been for me. I didn't have the luxury of YouTube, and I only had books that just said dry renders rest. And dry to me means dry, like a desert, so I don't know. So, but yeah, I am happy to see that there are some things that are continuing to grow, like that right there is a new growth. Well, hey, Kathy, good to see you. And this is something I got from Bill Tom's. This is Nodosa Minnie Mouse Yeah, it's got to be Minnie Mouse. I have had that for a couple of years, and I've mounted it a couple different ways, and it really only started doing anything uh, just this summer. Really only started to do anything. So, and these paths look very shabby. I mean, this one looks like it's falling out of the pot, but it has just recently been repotted. They do sort of get bumped around a lot, and so this says 8/18, so it's probably another year I'll repot it, but it's okay. And these are fresh. See, now look at that. Why is that? Okay, I'm not gonna cry about it. One of these days, is that? I hope that doesn't look like skull, but I'm not understanding why those leaves just fell off. Well, on the bright side, this spike looks like it's going to eventually bloom. Not everything looks so grim around here. Not everything. These are a little bit, I guess Hercoglossum does brown some. And this is my new acquisition, which is getting some shade, which it likes. Gets misting every day. This has also got some growths coming up on it, which is a good thing. This is Encyclia gracilis. And there's two new growths right there. So it is continuing. They do continue to grow. So those I still water and maintain, but like I've said before, this wall of cattleyas that I have down here that are in various states of sheath, and most of them are Aurantiacas guatemalensis, those. So I'm hoping that their spikes put forth, blooms. They generally do bloom from the dried up sheaths come spring. So I am kind of starting to worry about this thing because, like I have been saying, it was a late bloomer. The growths are stunted. A late grower, I should say, not bloomer, but late to grow its growths. Didn't even start growing its growths until the end of summer. And it usually is in bloom before the end of summer, around October. And I don't think it's even growing anymore. It looks like it's trying to mature those growths, which are very stunted. Unless it is going to immediately put up new growths in spring. You can see how big the previous growths have been. And they have bloomed from these growths, even though they look pretty bad. Well, it's only blooming from this side of the plant. But still, you can see how big those growths are compared to the new one. And that's a species, that's another thing, not a species, that's a old hybrid that I got at Missouri Botanical Garden, their plant auction. I think, I paid $5 for that plant. And it was collected, it was a piece off of a plant that was collected in the wild in the 1800s and brought to America, and then somehow a piece of it got to the Missouri Botanical Garden. That's what they say. The Missouri Botanical Garden, honestly, it's I believe it's the oldest botanical garden in the country, the first one, and very well renowned. I need to give that some fungicide because it looks like the leaves have a little bit of fungus on them, and if I don't get that, it will die. Yeah, that's a fungus. That is not scale. So I will have to take care of that. Otherwise, my Aranthes over there, they look pretty nice. but still they are resting to a degree for the most part. What just fell over? I guess nothing. Okay. Well, everybody, what time is it? Well, I've been on here. Hey, Mary G. Maybe I'll stay on for a little while longer since Mary showed up. I can't leave now. I'll stay a few more minutes. I just recently moved this Phalaenopsis because it was used to be sitting on the table over here, but I moved it out of the way over here, maybe give it a little more light. It seems to me it's been trying to bloom from these spikes, but just never getting over the hump. So maybe being here with more light, it will prompt it to do that. Hopefully. Hopefully. So yeah, I wish there was something that I could show you, but I had showed this earlier to those that missed this, that have just recently showed up. This is why I was raving about this plant. And I saw this in, I can think of the guy's name. He's on YouTube. He also does reptiles, and he has a few cages. Can't remember what his name is. Yeah, I know. I was saying that you can get this plant now, and it's probably in bud. Well, it's generally always in bud, but it's on sale now. I think maybe $16. Norman's, orchids.com. So I believe it is on sale. But yeah, very pretty thing. Very, very pretty. But the other bloom, Mary, well, you already saw it. It's that Stanhopea cross, that epidendrum cross. That was on my video. I showed it yesterday, but it wasn't open as wide as it is today. Still waiting to see if there's fragrance, because there should be. Although Schomburgki is not fragrant, but Stanfordiana is fragrant, and so is Paniculata. So, and that's another thing that I'll have to consider with this plant, because the one hybrid, Lime Drop, both of its parents on their own, the species Paniculata and whatever I said the other one was, Stanfordianum. Well, no, Stanfordianum can handle the warmth, but Paniculata likes it cold. And Schomburgki, I think they prefer it to be on the colder side. So this is going to be another one of those plants where, as I've found, that most of my epidendrums that have like this one in particular, Rene Marquez, which has Parkinsonianum? Not, is it Parkins? It's the one that is orange. I can't think of what it is right now, but that one has always proven to be difficult for me. Rene Marquez, and I think it's not Parkinsonianum is the one that I have down there, Colostylus. Yeah, that's Parkinsonianum. And this one as well, Rene Marquez crossed with Paniculatum. If it did not have Rene Marquez in it, this plant would not be able to be grown in my warm climate, if I can spit it out, because Paniculatum likes it cold. But pseudoepidendrum. I almost spit it out. Yeah, pseudoepidendrum. That's what I'm thinking of. That plant has always been difficult for me, and I think it's just because I've never watered it enough. These have always ever since that I've got this plant and the other one that's on the others that I just showed you before. I mean, I have this in straight sphagnum, and literally I have to make sure that, and it's even, well, it's not anymore, but it used to sit in a dish of water. Oh yeah, I knew what you were saying immediately, and that's what I was thinking of. But maybe I can grow that plant now because I just more or less unpotted it and wrapped the roots in straight sphagnum and just stuck it back into the pot. And I've had that for a year doing that, and it's put up new growths. They haven't bloomed yet, but they should, hopefully. Same as that one over there. I just repotted it, just wrapped the roots in just straight sphagnum, moist sphagnum, and then just stuck it right in that pot, and it continued to grow. I'm sure it's getting enough sunlight. Hopefully we'll see a sheath up here soon, because this is the time that it should be putting up a bloom. So, and actually I do have another one. Speaking of that, and I know I showed this already, probably on my update. Hopefully I'm still on, but right here is another one, and I'll just put it up here. But the tag is right there, which is the same plant. This is the same plant as that one. So these are the same. This one stayed outside, basically bare root. This one was inside. And this one, there's a bud right there that I just noticed. See, now, had I not got in that rambling, I never would have even noticed that. This thing probably would have sat up there in that spot, because I water it from below for that purpose, so that I don't get careless with it and splash it up here. So I water it from below, and so it's up above my head, and so I never would have seen this. So I think that's hilarious. I was doing all that ranting about how I couldn't bloom this plant and be so successful with it. But it looks like I can bloom it or rebloom it, because I got this as a bare root. And looks like it's going to do something. Maybe. So yeah, I guess I proved myself that not only can I maintain it in sphagnum, I can bloom it in, well, see, that's the thing. It was, what I did, I had this plant in more of the shadier area. It wasn't sitting on this part of the outdoor area where it's under the shade cloth and it gets more sun under the shade cloth, whereas when you get under the arbor, it's more deeper shade. That's where this was sitting, but on the further end where it got mostly afternoon shade. So it put up these growths, and it got the sheath while it was down there. At the end of the summer, before I bought the plants in, I moved it underneath this part of the cage, closer to the greenhouse where it was getting more sun. Well, yeah, it has bloomed before. Those are old spikes. It was sent to me previously bloomed. So, got good eyes. But yeah, this is totally what I've done since I got it. And this is the other growth that looks like it's still... So they can bloom off of old canes? I don't know. I suppose they could, like other epidendrums. I guess I'll keep my eye out. I mean, I know this one should. Todd's is probably still blooming. But yeah, that's totally... Wow, okay. So I'm going to put that there. so I don't forget about it anymore. Yeah, and it's going on, pretty soon it'll be January, so that's what, a good 8 months for you? That's damn good. I say that plant is a keeper. I knew there was a reason that I was obsessed with that plant. And I'm gonna turn this thing down because this is like, a few months ago I'm complaining that I don't have any heat, and now it's blowing right on me, and I'm complaining that it's too much. Too much is better than none. Yeah, I am so happy that I have that. I am so happy. Brookside is the gods. Just for that plant alone, the gods. So yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna piss off of here. I am. Sorry that my little hiccup at the beginning when I was trying to come in from that end, starting from outside, it just never, even off of my Wi-Fi, it just wasn't doing it. So that kind of sucks. So I don't know. I was trying to figure out how I was going to walk down there on a live, but I'll still be figuring it out. Maybe I can get some sort of a Wi-Fi extender so that somehow the greenhouse is closer. So, really, that's funny. Well, I mean, heck, if anybody wants a piece, I can spare a couple canes, and maybe a year, I think I'll probably be able to. For sure. For sure. I am pretty sure. So yeah, everybody, thanks again for stopping by, and hopefully you all have a good week, and all of your collections, your orchids, your life is doing well, and you are not overspending yourself. Well, I should say you're not overspending on others during this holiday season, and saving some for yourself. That's what I meant to say. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Rez. Good to see you. All right, Todd. Wow, nap time. You must have had a good lunch. I bet you cooked like a side of beef or like a porchetta. Thanks, Mary. Hopefully see you before then. And everybody have a good night, and talk to you soon. Bye. Lamb sounds great. Love it.